So today we are going to learn something about jQuery. Let me check this mic settings and all. It's working good. I'm not sure this mic is too small. No problem. Let's begin the session. So what you know about jQuery, guys? It's a library. jQuery basically is a framework. It's a library also. You can call it as a library also, which is built on the top of JavaScript. So why do we need jQuery when JavaScript can do its job? So if you remember, when you want to work on JavaScript, you have to write a lengthy piece of code. For example, if you want to access the values from a text field, how can we do that? Document.getElement by id dot value. So this is a big lengthy code. So this complete a whole bunch of code can be replaced with dot val in jQuery. So jQuery is having its own advantages where the JavaScript is not having. So this will be a common questions comes to the people, which one is best? JavaScript is best or jQuery is best? So there are many questions raising in your mind might be as if now. So what to select? 78% top linking websites are using jQuery still today. There is no frequent release of versions in the jQuery because jQuery itself is a stable version. Angular, React, Backbone, all these are coming down the line, but they don't have a complete stable version. Because of that, they're releasing one after the Angular 1 got released, then 2 got released, now 4 got released. So I don't know when the fifth will be released, but when it comes to jQuery, still it's in the version 2. So it means that jQuery is a stable version. Because of that, also people like using jQuery for their web development. So just like JavaScript is used for web development, jQuery can also be used for the web development. So jQuery is having its own advantages where the JavaScript does not have. The one is animations. Animations cannot be reached by using a JavaScript. But when it comes to jQuery, you can animate things very quickly. We will be learning about animations down the line. Okay, so you will learn more about jQuery if you go to the website like jQuery.com. The basic idea behind jQuery is write less and do more. You will be writing very few lines of code here, and you will be doing whatever you want as per the web development requirement. So you can read more theory from this website. jQuery is a fast, small, and feature-rich JavaScript library. So as Shiva said, library, yeah, it's a library. It makes things like HTML, document traversal and manipulation, event handling, animation, and Ajax is much simpler with each use of API that works across multitude of browser. With a combination of versatility and extensibility, jQuery has changed the way that millions of people write JavaScript. So what is a problem, why people prefer tutorials? These people are very bad in explaining the things. They have developed the things, but they are very bad in explaining. By reading this, it is bouncing from our head 1 feet above. So for this reason, we will be switching to the tutorials like Tutorial Point, T Point, W3 schools and all. They have very good functionality, but at some point they will be failing in explaining their functionality. Okay, so we are not in a discussion of where they are failing and where they are passing. So we are just here to learn about the jQuery. So as the let's consider the one good example which describes the difference between the jQuery and JavaScript. So if you take a Ajax call from JavaScript, it will be having a lengthy lines of code. Let me show you that. If you pick any one over there, so you have to load these many things if you want to perform a Ajax call in JavaScript. You have to go for XML HTTP request object, and you have to call the respective function in that. So many things you have to do. But when it comes to the jQuery, when you go for jQuery post Ajax method, you will be having only single line of code over here, which makes jQuery awesome. So you can see, just by calling these 3 lines of code, the third line is still the phrase. You can ignore that one and place it over here. Just by calling these 2 lines of code, you will be making a Ajax call in jQuery. When it comes to JavaScript, it's very painful. You have to write so many lines of code. So this is the reason why people prefer jQuery when compared to the JavaScript. So jQuery is something which tells like write less and do more. Whereas JavaScript is something where you have to write more and get more. Okay, so these things will be clear to you when we move down the line. So another good thing in the jQuery is jQuery is having a set of documentation which allows you to learn so many things in one window. So documentation, what do you mean by documentation? Documentation, the name itself indicates it's all about the document, the explanation of each and everything. All those explanation you will find in one window. Whereas in JavaScript you don't have any documentation or something. So this documentation is so easy that if you want to learn something, just click over there. You will find a good examples over there. For example, I want to know about dot add. What is this dot add? By clicking on that, you will be having a lot of theory. You will be having this examples over here and the different usage, and finally the running example you will find here, which you can call it as a demo. So this type of things you will find in jQuery which you are not finding in JavaScript. Okay, so let's start the discussion with a small example on the jQuery, then slowly you will learn more about this one. So first what you have to do is you have to switch to jQuery.com. So once you switch to jQuery.com, then you will be finding like the current version of the jQuery is 3.2.1. You can download this from here. Just click on that. It will be redirecting you to the different types of versions, and you can just click on the any one which is the stable version. So I'm going with this one. So just by clicking on that, I got jQuery downloaded over here. So if you remember when you were working on the Bootstrap, so what you did on the Bootstrap, you have downloaded Bootstrap from the Bootstrap, getbootstrap.com, and you have included the CSS file from there. In the same way, if you want to work with jQuery, you have to download this from getjquery.com, and you have to make sure that you are importing this file in your HTML code. You're calling this library. You have to make sure about this. Okay, so let me go to this one. I'm not sure where it got downloaded. Yeah, it's here. So I'm just copy and pasting over here. Here it's already one version available, so I have set it to replace. So the next point is like going to the notepad and writing some HTML and head and body, close off body. So inside head I have a script. So now I'm going to define the script in detail. Type equal to text by JavaScript and source equal to jQuery. What is the name of the file we have here? So whether you click on rename and copy it and import it, because it's a case sensitive if it is. So .js and close off script. So what I did basically, I have imported a jQuery plugin. So let me talk something about the plugin. What does this plugin means? What does this library or framework means in general? So if you go back to your C language basics, you have printf, which is defined in stdio.h. So if you want to call printf, you have to make sure that you are importing a library or the header stdio.h over there. Make sense? In the same way, jQuery is having its own functions. What are those list of functions we are going to see now? In order to call that function, you have to make sure you are importing the library there. Okay? I hope it is clear to you all. So feel free. If I'm connecting headset, it doesn't mean that I'm absent over here. We are not in webinar. We are in a live class. Okay? So yeah, I just copied this one and I'm just saving it back again to the index.html. So I'm saying, yeah, please override that. So here, nothing is coming out because nothing we have written in body. But I want to, why I have clicked over there is I want to go to the source now and I want to check whether my plugin is getting loaded or not. Yeah, here you can see that my plugin is getting downloaded. How this plugin got downloaded? Because I have imported this plugin here. Okay, let me go to the next point. Script, and one more script is there. So two scripts. You have, if you, when you have worked on C language, you have something so called void main. Correct? If you remember, void main we have in C language. So so what is main in general? Main is nothing but the start of your program. So in the same way, here you have something so called dollar of document dot ready function. Okay, so this part is nothing but your start of your program here. So let me write one alert and then we'll talk more on this one. What is this document dot ready stands for? I can see something is breaking here. No worries, we are there to fix it. function. Yes, function. Spelling is wrong. Yeah, there is no function name. There is no function name and all concept over here. We'll talk more on that functions and all later on. So what is this dollar document dot ready? What does it mean? It means something like uh, when your document is ready, then this will be called. What is this document? Your HTML components are nothing but the document. So when it loads completely, can you come this side? I can't see you. When it loads completely, whatever the document you have written like HTML tags, header, buttons, all these things, when it loads completely, then this ready will be called. What is the reason behind calling ready at the last? For example, you are trying to grab some value like document dot get element by id and id name is one dot value. So what happens if you write it outside is before reaching to that id component, it will be trying to fetch the value. So which is an error. For it, let me take a quick example over here. It's something like you have to pay some. You have to submit your documents to the banking person. You have applied for credit card, so the banker is coming and visiting to your office. So what happened? You are on the way, and he reached before. Does it make sense? First you shall reach, and if he reach at that same time, then it makes sense. You can submit your document. In the same way, before loading your component is can be anything. It can be like let me give the component also here. The component something like this. Its name and name equals to name. So before loading this page, if you call this value, then this will return null and your operation fails over there. So in order to address that issue, so what we are going to do is we are going to write this thing in ready. So when everything loads on page, after that this ready function will be called. So because of that, they have given a handy word over there, document.ready. Once the document is ready, this function will be called. Are you getting me, guys? So writing without document.ready, it doesn't make sense because until your page load, you have to make something on hold. For that purpose, we have that. Another good thing of the jQuery is jQuery allows you to write JavaScript code within that. Okay. So if something is, you are messed with something and you're not clear with the functions of the jQuery, then you are allowed to write JavaScript code inside that. In fact, jQuery will convert that jQuery code back to the JavaScript only. The reason behind is you have only one execution engine, that is a browser. Okay, your browser understands only JavaScript language. So whatever you write in jQuery, that will be converted back again to the JavaScript. If someone asks you which one performs fast, jQuery or JavaScript, then you should say, no, you should not say jQuery, you should say JavaScript. This is a common problem many people will answer. The reason behind is jQuery needs a compilation or the conversion back to JavaScript. And JavaScript does not need any conversion because it can communicate directly to the browser. Make sense? So let's go to the next level. Are you with me? So we have, let me start with some components here. The first component is like selectors. This concept you have studied in your Java. Have you ever studied selectors in Java? Where did you hear about these selectors? So at least I believe once in a week you should read from 0 to 1 from your notes. If you have remembered in this CSS, we have learned something about selectors. So what are the different types of selectors? We have ID, class, tag, attributes. Okay. So selectors will be defined in jQuery with like this. Here the selector will come, and here the function whatever you want to call will come. Okay. So jQuery will be represented in two ways. One is dollar. So this dollar is a jQuery representation which can be replaced with jQuery like this. You can write dollar. If you don't like dollars, you want something else, then you can go for jQuery, a complete word. So I'm using dollar because we are in the initial stage. So let's talk with the dollar now. So we have some functions in the jQuery which helps you to understand how to work on it. Yeah, I'm going to use nothing other than a form in the initial stage. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use label here and username with that input type equal to text, id equal to uname. If you want, you can give the name also, and then break. The second side is after username, what you have? We have something so called password, and this will also be a password, and this will be a pwd, and this will be finally so called pwd. Okay, and input type equal to button. I'm going to give the name of the button also because it works on select hours, and value equals to send, click, or something. I'm saving this one, coming back over here and refreshing my page. So there is nothing much new over here. So here something I'm writing, something and clicking. Nothing is happening. Correct? So let's make it to happen something over there. So first thing, I want to access the values of text field, values of password, username on the click of button. Correct? So let's make it accessible like what is the name of your, what is the ID of your button? Oh, sorry, it's not a button. For username, what is ID for username? You can see here and tell, right? ID for username. This is username. What is the ID here? Uname. So ID in CSS will be represented with ID in CSS is represented with, yes, hash uname.val. You find something there. So what we did, we have set it the value of the username. Okay, and you can get the value of the username also with the same function. You will be having the same variable uname equals to something like this, and uname. So it's empty in nature. So how do you set the value? Val of something, if you give here, this is for setting the value. And only empty means it is for getting a value. How do you access the value in JavaScript? Document dot get element by ID of uname dot value. In this way, you will be getting the value in JavaScript. In jQuery, you will be getting in this direct way, that is dot val. So this document, this, you don't have to write, you have to just call dot val. So how much easy jQuery is, you can understand from this. Okay, so in the same way, you can access the value of the password. So what is the field of password there? What is the ID of password? Yes, PWD. So here you have PWD. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to display two things in a one alert, which is PWD. So nothing is coming out because nothing is there. Something. So what is happening is, so when you are loading your page, after loading your page, that document.ready is calling and it is displaying an alert. But what I want is, I want that to be displayed on the click of my button, because when I click on button, when I enter the value and click on button, it makes sense to access it. Before that, if you are trying to access it, it doesn't make sense because by default it's empty in nature. So on the click of button, we need it. So in JavaScript, how do you call function on click, right? So in jQuery, you have something so called, what is the ID of button? what do you have here? Dot click. Okay. And another point is you don't have to call on click here. So how cool jQuery is, you can see now. From button click, you can see, yeah, on the click of button, I'm getting it. So what jQuery is doing is, it is isolating, it is separating the JavaScript code from HTML. So you can see if you are writing on click over here, then you will come to know, yeah, some JavaScript is getting called from there. But from jQuery, you will not get it easily. Yeah, there is no on click concept. It will use the selector here, it will call on the top of that. Let's consider you have something so called external script. So what I'm doing in external script means this complete JavaScript code I'm going to write, JavaScript or jQuery code I'm going to write in a separate script. I'm going to save this one with app.js, and instead of calling like this, what I'm doing is I'm going to call it in this way. So what does it do is it will replace this line of code with another script code, just like external CSS if you remember. So this will be replaced with this one. So now from this code, you can't say JavaScript is getting called from here. Some function is getting called from here just by reading the HTML. Can you say what is happening over there? You can't say by seeing the HTML code. This is what the magic of jQuery. It will not allow you to, if you're using pure jQuery, it will not allow you to write anything so called on click, on key press, on change, or on mouse enter, on mouse exit, on triple X functions, you can say. So it's pretty cool, right? So what I did, I have separated the script code. So this all things are good, but one thing is there, it's very difficult to debug it. What do you mean by debug? To catch what is happening. It's very difficult by reading the code. So what you have to do is you have to go to the script, you have to go and check what is getting called at what point. So let's do one thing. The target was something like accessing the values on the click of button. Correct? So what I'm doing for that is I'm writing everything inside this button click. So when I write everything inside this button click, so when I'm giving the values like admin and admin, and see the values are coming up. How this has come? So what I did is I'm calling this val function on the click function, which makes sense. It's quite easy. You have something to ask? Any questions? Monica, you have something to ask? You can ask me directly. This side, we are good in shape. So I'm leaving this program open so you can copy it later on. We have so many things to discuss. We are still in the basics now. So this is the first way of learning JavaScript. So sorry, jQuery. So the basic thing what is needed is you should learn how to download a plugin and what is the use of document.ready function and how to access the values of components. So these are the things which are really needed at the initial stage. Okay. So here, let me take some example, which is in gray process. Let me check whether the recording is happening or not. I don't think this mic problem is going to create a big problem. Voice is very less. No problem. So let me go to the next level now. Let me open the same file which we have visited just now. Come on, this is crazy. So here you can perform click operation on anything. It can be a paragraph, it can be heading, or it can be anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a div here, and inside this div I'm going to call some CSS. How do we import CSS? How do we import CSS? Decide. How do we import CSS? Guys, you people are not studying, yeah. It's just dot URL. Semicolon. Let me check how much correct it is. Yes. So we are calling some CSS file. So I don't want to go back to the lecture. You are not studying and all. But trust me, if you study, follow this kind of style, then it's very difficult for you. Uh, Let me open my CSS file. What CSS do we have? We have app.css, and let me remove this and remove this. And you don't need color. White color is a by default, right? Width as 200 pixel and height as 200 pixel. Why this blue is coming in between? This background color is blue in nature, so we give something. I don't need anything. Just go with the white. So here we have something like this, and I'm going to pull the components inside this div. Instead of pulling everything there. Okay, we have something like this, and try to understand. Okay, me try some padding on the top. Okay, so I'm going to write some code here. So you can see everything is wrapped inside a div. This part is there and nothing new in this as of now. Only some coloring we have covered, like giving a border, placing inside a div. That's it, nothing else, not much. Let me give this as something so called 100. It's very small. Just once you go with this styling, you will not get satisfied until it looks good. So you should not touch styling. That is the one reason you have to remember. Feeling thirsty. Let me bring this mic up. Hey, I don't know what's wrong with that. Yeah, so I'm going to place some buttons here. I'm going to add two more buttons here. Input type equal to button, id equal to hide, and value equals to hide. So one button got added over there. Let me give some gap between that button and this. So how can I do that? How can I do that? Break. You need a break? We'll take a break in between. Sure. So what is my requirement is when I click on hide, it should get hidden. So how can I reach that? Any idea? I don't need this alert and all as of now. So what I'm doing is, what do you want to hide first of all? What do you want to hide from your requirement? Username and password you want to hide. Yeah, entire what? Block. What is that? Yeah, proper word is very important, remember. So we have learned something about selector with ID earlier. Now I'm using the tag name. The tag name is div dot hide. So when you want this to be hidden, on the click of what? Hide button. So you have to remove from here. In this way you have to plan your requirement. What is the ID of hide button? What is the ID of hide button? What is the ID? At least now you can say right. Button 1 is the ID of hide button, correct? Guys, oh, it's hide. Oh, I'm sorry for that. So, for hide. So this is somewhat so-called animations. If you give 1000, it will hide in 1 second. If you give 3000, looks good. I'm feeling happy by seeing that. I'm not feeling happy, sure. It's not something great. So, but we will be adding one more button there because we are good in hiding. We should be good in showing also, right? Show or display, whatever you want. Good word is display there. So when you want it to be displayed, when you click display button, So what is the ID of display button? Dollar hash show dot click function like this. Dollar of diff dot show. So let me come back over here. I is hiding and it's getting displayed there. So you want to show in 2000, that is 2 seconds. It's getting hidden here. It's getting displayed. Okay. What's that? Okay. Where is the signature of this? Okay. You mean the syntax is how can we learn this? Where do we get all these things you mean? This is what your question? So yeah, yes, it's a very good question asked by Mr. Shiva. So here you have Shiva all these things in alphabetical order. Okay. So if you don't have patience of doing all that, simply hide here. It's not getting displayed with that filter. It was there. So it's like this. So you have to read this documentation. I'm taking some important things at the beginning. I'm not going in alphabetical order because this alphabetical order is for those who know jQuery very well. So jQuery starts with some basic functions. If I go with alphabetical order without going to R, that is document.ready. Ready is also one function. Without going to that point, I can't do all these things. So I'm covering some important things. You can spend your time with all this remaining one. Hundreds of functions are there. What I can say is things are ready in front of you. It's your time, how much you can grab it. So grabbing is something where you have to spend more time. If you spend more time, you will get good output. If you don't spend time, then you will spend definitely after attending interviews. Okay. So you can see click, you can see double click, you can see children. So many things are there which are going to be down the line. Any questions you have? So it's all about the explanation of that. You can just click on that. What is that event object, how it internally works and all. You can read all about this. Once you go through this one, you will come to. Okay. So we have something so called toggle. Have you ever heard about toggle? What is this toggle? What is that? Yeah, speak up, speak up. Whatever is there in your mind, please bring it. Oh, is it like that? I'm very bad in spelling. Let me check the documentation. Toggle, right? Correct. Toggle in jQuery. Toggling. You should not copy paste in your life. This is a bad thing with the developers. So what they do is whatever tasks they get, they will get it from internet, they will copy paste and finish the tasks and sit idle. But that is not the correct way. You should always type it. If you type it, it will go in your mind. Okay. uh, Toggle. Toggle. So yeah, let me take this example here with toggle, and we'll work on toggling. Dollar of hash function, and this at 9:30 we'll have a break of 10 minutes, and then we'll gather again. We'll see how long you have a patience. So here div dot toggle into toggle toggling. This is toggling. So instead of going for two buttons, you can go with one button. Interesting. So if you want this thing to be like slow or delay, let me check whether this will work out or not. Same thing you can do with one. Okay. Let me call one thing here. Toggle delay to 1000. 1000 equals to how many seconds? 1 second. So it's jumping like anything. Bring it here. These are the functions which you are calling from the JavaScript jQuery library. What's that? Okay, the button name you mean. You can give your spelling is correct. You can give your own name. Hey, your name is not working there. Let me check why it's not working. Yeah, this should work now. Okay, and 5000. Go slowly. We have something so called slide up, slide down, which I want you guys to take it offline. I want you people to study about that. So these things are very easy if you take it easy. So let me bring out what I'm planned to discuss today. So just like click, you can give double click as well. So if you give db click, it means like double click. Unless you click it twice, it will not work. So hide mouse, mouse enter. So when you enter your mouse there, it will work out. So let me bring something which is related to the selector. So what are the different types of selectors we have? One is ID, class, tag name, attribute, universal, which is denoted by star, which means that it is applied for all, everything, whatever is there. So you have seen like when to go for ID. When you have unique representation of something, then you should go for ID. And when you have multiple things of the same type, then you should go for class. And tag name, when you have only one tag, then it's appreciable for that. Attribute inside that, like instead of calling all these things, you can call only the button. And universal is for all. Okay, so in place of universal you can use this THIS as well in this jQuery. So you have this all functions. Let's do one thing. Let's apply CSS over here, which is quite easy in jQuery. So what I'm doing here is uh, button.css, background, color, syntax, easy. We get like nothing coming out. Background color as pink. So here, so what I did is it's on the tag name. If the tag name is input, so if you see here the code, here how many inputs you have. This is one input, this is one input, there's nearly whatever you have, everything is input over there than the field. So all those have become. Okay, makes sense. This is the way you will apply the CSS. And on slide up, slide down, and if you want to change something, you have something so called attributes. What is this attribute? Directives. It's a kind of directive, right? For example, what's that? A directive meaning is different. Directive in HTML is different. Anything which you write in a tag is known as directive. For example, type is one directive, ID is one directive, name is one directive. Okay, is it clear? Anything which you write inside a tag is known as directive. It should not go with the English meaning. All these are directives. This is tag and these are the directives. Okay, you have to be clear with that. So we are talking about, let's change some attributes. So anything you can change over here. So what I'm doing is I'm adding one more button here. So let me change this button name to toggle. This Okay, sure, sure. I will do that. Thank you. Uh, hmm, change I'm giving here the name change. I will let me take this one first and then we'll go for that. Change dot click function dollar div dot attribute width as 500. Let me check the signature. Something is wrong over there. It's not coming up. So how to know whether it's getting called or not? At the first level, you should give some alert to check whether your function is getting called or not. Click off button, your function is calling perfectly. So let me try this attr here. Dot attr. So here you can see there's one example on that. Dot attr div dot attr. Width spelling is correct, right? Not sure what is wrong with this. WIDTH. Let me check this attr. I will check this and get back to you on this. Something wrong in terms of signature or what it is exactly. I need to check that. Attr, the new value, width is. Let me check that. Fine. Uh, we have, yeah, this she want. So let me go for. Let me comment this and go for this over there. Dollar of this dot click function alert of this. So here wherever you click that will be called. What is the meaning of this? In the entire page, wherever, whatever it might be, either it is a component, it is a button, or it is a text field, or anything that will be called. Okay, that will be it's what I said you star can be replaced with this. So it's a universal. So anywhere you click, you will get this. Okay, this is a usage of that. Is your question answered? So this is what a usage of this. And you can deal, you have seen like we have played with the CSS as well. So it's 9:38. Let's have a break now. Let's have a break of 10 minutes and then we'll assemble again. Hi, sorry.